my theme music.
What's up, everybody? What's up, Buffs Nation? And welcome back to Buffs News Weekly Live, your live weekly show where we come at you with a little bit more of an opinionated show rather than my usual scripted Saturday news shows. And we've got a lot to talk about today. A lot of stuff that I chose not to talk about in the news video last weekend, simply because it is a little bit more of kind of a dive-in research, opinionated type piece, and I wanted to save that for this sort of medium rather than that pre-recorded video to give you guys the opportunity to communicate with me, to have a conversation, to be a part of the conversation so we can have a back and forth rather than just me giving you the facts and you going to the comments and putting out your little things. It's a little bit easier to do it live and actually answer and have that discourse and back and forth. So today we are going to be covering all of the media controversy that's happened in the last couple of weeks when it comes to Coach Prime and Colorado, and look at it from the idea that a lot of media members have been defending their colleagues that have had these things occur with them. And I feel like they're doing that completely blindly solely because they're a part of the media. So we're going to look at the reasoning for why Coach Prime has done the things he's done, what is going on with these people. And I want to not only give you my opinion on why I think some of these people are behaving the way they are, but I want to get your guys' opinions on why you think these people are behaving the way they are. So we're going to dive in. We're going to watch a lot of clips when it comes to the different issues that are going on, whether you've seen it already. I have some extra footage that I want to share with you guys that I've uncovered through my research, and some extra things that I don't think are being talked about as much in the last week. And so I just want to go through that, discuss it, and really just, kind of look that over. So without further ado, we're going to jump into it with a little bit of a short. This is kind of what kicked off everything with some of the media members talking. Not as controversial, I think, as everything else. And I think it's more of just who this person is. And that is the ESPN stuff with Finebaum that has been going on for the last couple of weeks. But the reason why I want to put him at the top of the show and just kind of get it over with and through is simply because I feel like that's just who he is, because he's negative about everybody, it seems like. The guy just doesn't like life, it seems. Always has something negative to say. And I guess that's why ESPN pays him to come on and just say the opposite of whatever they have opposing him on that specific show. Obviously, he talked at the Big 12 Media Day and then the SEC Day that Colorado has no chance, that Shedeur is overrated, that Coach Prime is not going to stick around. He won't have the patience to do so at Colorado or anything like that. And so, that's just kind of where that is. And, that's just who he is, I think. All of those things are great and fantastic and wonderful and get you those clicks and that attention and gives you those great headlines that ESPN can throw out there with the quick clips, because that's what they want to do. Let's be honest. They need to be able to get those clicks going. And, they're going to be at least, I will give this, they are at least somewhat journalistic in their approach. I would say it's pretty obvious that it's Finebaum's opinion versus some of these other people that we're going to get to and have that conversation with when it comes to how they behave and what's going on with them. I wanted to point that out and give that as just kind of a starting off point. But the other ones are a little bit more of a big deal and have a lot more to them and to their stories. if you guys are watching this video later on, again, make sure you guys like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff before we dive into the really nitty gritty stuff. If you guys are watching right now, again, feel free to lock in. Let me know you're watching. Let me know where you're watching from. Appreciate all the people that are being a part of this and you know, coming in and actually watching my stuff. I've got some cool things that are coming up. Just came back from a vacation. We're locked in. We're ready to go for the season. Gonna have a lot of stuff for you guys shortly. So that is something you guys got to look out for. So without further ado, let's get going because we're going to talk about 3 different things. We're going to talk about Sean Keeler of the Denver Post. If you know about him, if you saw him, it was probably Prime's biggest blow up over his most recent media press conference that got a lot of attention. That's one thing we're going to show and talk about. The second thing we're going to talk about is going to be the CBS controversy and how some extra information came out yesterday, if you haven't already seen it, that explains what was going on with that and what happened, and why I believe that the media immediately jumping to CBS's aid as far as the local media is concerned doesn't completely understand the story. And I think we need to dive into that a little bit deeper, both on Prime side and both on the CBS side. And then we're going to finish out with the big one, which is the Athlon, Steve Cordon. He has some interesting things. So I found some deep diving. I looked into his stuff. I looked into more of his writing, and there is definitely a pattern with him, which again brings me back to Keeler. I think both Keeler and Cordon are both just completely 100% negative about Colorado and Coach Prime. And that is why Coach Prime and different people are attacking him, because there's a difference between just reporting negative news for a purpose to get those clicks, to get those headlines. But as a journalist, you're supposed to cover both the good and the bad. And they are doing neither. Okay. They're literally just focused on the absolute worst, creating those fake headlines, creating those fake lines that just have nothing and no basis. Especially being a journalist, you have to have some basis and some facts. Excuse me. So we're going to go through all of that here today. But to start off, let's go with Keeler and what is going on with him. So first off, we're going to really quickly show the clip of Keeler at CU's press conference so you guys can see. I'm sure you've already seen it, but I want to have it more fresh in our minds so we can actually discuss it and talk about the specific clip. So we're going to do that right now. Let me know if you can't hear it. I've tested the audio. It should be working, but if you're here, have any issues, let me know.
Sean Keeler, the Denver Post. Happy summer, my man.
You don't like us, man. Why do you do this to yourself?
Come on.
You don't like us.
Mark likes me, by the way.
Huh?
Yeah. Mark said he likes me.
No,
so
but
that's
you
one.
don't. Why do you do this, though?
No, I'm sorry. Two-parter, if I could.
No, I'm serious. Why do you do this? Like, you know you don't. Like, why do you do this?
No, it's not about that. Football question. Football question.
Why do you do this? Like, it would be hard for me to really engage in someone I don't like or something I don't like. I'm just asking why. Like, why?
Gotta pay
What
the bills,
did I do?
You didn't do anything. It's not about that. But this is a football question.
I'm asking you why.
Yeah, you can answer. That's
okay,
not
answer me.
Because
you want me to answer you. So
yeah, okay, that's fine. That's fair.
Why?
Why? Because I have questions.
Give me your why.
What's your why? What do you want to know?
Why do you always on attack? Like, what did we do?
Where am I on attack today? Where am I on attack?
Yeah, I'm not gonna give you opportunities to be on attack. But I'm asking you why. Like, what does it do for you? Like, what happened?
It's not about me.
But what happened to get you like this?
It's a good question.
No, I'm serious. Because I want to help. I'm serious. I want to help. Because it's not normal.
We can talk about that.
Okay.
Can I ask you a football question?
No.
Seriously.
No, we'll talk about that. When we talk about that, I'll talk about that with you.
Okay. So that's obviously what occurred. A lot of media members are being very negative when it comes to Prime and how he responded. I think what Prime just did is smart and also very respectful. He just said, you obviously have something wrong with me. Keeler's not denying it. He's not saying, no, I don't have anything wrong with you. He's just saying, I'm doing this. And Prime is asking him, why? Why do you have this vendetta? Why do you want this to happen? Why is this going on? And so that is, in my mind, respectful. He wants to say, hey, if you've got some beef with me, let's squash it. Let's have a conversation. Let's find out, did I do something wrong that has pushed you to do this? And instead, Keeler ran away. Keeler ran away during this press conference, ran home, left early. He shows back up today. Northside, of course, talking this up. Keeler locked out from asking questions. Yes, today he tried to ask a question during Sapp's press conference, and I love Coach Sapp, who just literally looked forward, didn't look at Keeler, didn't acknowledge him, and took somebody else's question. And then the media people for CU told him next question and told him not to pretty much ask a question. So Keeler is not going to be able to pay some bills, although he went home from this press conference and immediately wrote an article about Prime and how, terrible he is for doing this. But I had one of our viewers send us a clip that talked about Keeler, has him actually speaking to a media online. We're going to show that clip here. I want to show you a part of it that I found that I'm just like, this guy seriously has some kind of vendetta against Colorado and Coach Prime. Mostly Coach Prime, because he's been covering Colorado for quite a while, although he has been negative towards Colorado for a while. I think Coach Prime just bumped it up to about 10. But I want to show you this clip, and I want to show you what Keeler says, and then I want to hear from you guys. If you're watching, if you watch this later on, feel free to comment. Let me know, what do you think is the reason that Keeler doesn't like Coach Prime, just based on what he says?
To cycle things out. And I just don't think this is really the most uncomfortable truth, besides whatever future NCAA violations are coming, and they are coming, is that it's not sustainable. Is it? You tell me, is any of this sustainable from an outsider's perspective at Colorado? You have the revolving door all the time.
We mentioned this too, because Texas State, just south of here, who upset Baylor to start the year last year, they have a new coach, G.J. Kinney, came in, and they had like 50-plus players or 60 players. But you wonder eventually, because if you are bringing them in to replace players who are not as good, but then they're also the same ones leaving, or a chunk of them are you making the wrong personnel decisions? Is that kind of also what you're saying?
My mantra is that every next level.
I'll not be watching the ad, but I noticed him saying that, there will be NCAA infractions. There will be. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Okay. And one, there has not been, by the way. This one came out in April. There has been nothing that has come out. But again, he is focused on everything he can find. Anything negative about Coach Prime, he looks at. He has not written an article about the fact that Coach Prime and CU have one of the highest GPAs in the history of the school for the athletics department. He has not written or focused on the fact that Coach Prime has turned Boulder into a big economic force thanks to the football team with all of the money that he's generating for the town. He has not talked about the fact that Coach Prime brought CU to the Big 12 and got them a bonus for doing so, while teams like Oregon State and Washington State have no conference whatsoever. Again, I can go on and on. If you're going to cover the negative, that's fine. As a journalist, you need to cover the negative. Sure, we had a lot of people leave in the portal, but that's not the point. The point is, we had a lot of skill come from the portal. This is only year 2, okay? And he is trying to build towards something quickly. He has some players on his team, which again, people are going to say, and both Keeler has said this, and when we will show you Cordon here in a little bit, he has said it as well. The problem is that they believe that you can't do this. They believe you can't just turn this over. They believe that Coach Prime only cares about Shedeur, Shiloh, Travis. That's it. Here's the thing. You have generational talent in Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter. Do you waste that with the same roster from last year that went 4-8? Or do you try and upgrade the team alongside your skilled players that you brought back in order to try and be a better team and win? You tell me. I don't know a single coach in the world that wouldn't do exactly what Prime is doing with the talent that he has in the team that's staying there. Any other team, mind you, yes. If Shedeur was on another team or Travis on the other team, they'd probably transfer from that 4-8 school. But they are there because they want to play for Coach Prime. He wants to play for his dad. Travis wants to play for Coach Prime. He chose him at Jackson State. He chose him at Colorado. And all of this is happening because Coach Prime wants to accelerate the rebuild to be a competitive team now, and then use that momentum of being a competitive winning team with those players to then bring in replacement players after Travis, after Shador, that can take up that mantle and continue being a good football team. No team has really done this, but guess what? The transfer portal has only been around for so long. I hate when analysts are like, you can't do this. We don't know if you can't do this, okay? Colorado improved by 400% last year from the previous year with the portal. That tells me they improved, okay? So we're going to see again. If they improve another 400% and win 8 or 9 games, I hope that everyone out there says, oh, you can rebuild a team with the transfer portal if you have the right people in charge. Because not every coach is going to get the type of players that Coach Prime has because of who he is. So Keeler, completely negative, has a vendetta. I would like to know, why is that? Why does Keeler have this vendetta? That is what Coach Prime asked him. Coach Prime wanted to have that conversation and say, hey, what is going on? It is honestly the adult thing to do. And people are calling him a child. People are calling him petty. But the thing is, that is the adult thing to do. Ask somebody. Yeah, I guess he could do it off camera, but the reason he's doing it on camera is because it's also making an example of all these other people out there that are doing the same thing as Keeler. So why not do it in front of everybody and say, hey, if you're going to come to Boulder and you're going to be this negative person, be ready to be called out by Coach Prime, because you're not just going to come here and hitch your wagon to him and get the news and make your money off of him if you're not going to be respectful and actually have a conversation. Other media members have been negative about Coach Prime in Colorado, and they are completely fine. Okay. There's been a couple of ESPN analysts. There's been a couple, like Stephen A. Smith has been negative on Prime, has been negative on Colorado, and yet they're still close. Yet they still have conversations. Yet they're still friends because they understand, let's have a conversation about it rather than just go throw it in the media only and walk away from that. That is the big thing. Northside, I think Prime cut the access to Prime. I think that's a good analogy for that right there. So let's move on. I want to go to the CBS stuff. The CBS stuff is an interesting thing because I've been seeing tons of media looking at this and how they're taking it. I want to point one person in particular. He is a local news person, used to be on CBS News. So he has a close connection with them, and he threw probably the biggest fit about what Coach Prime did to the CBS reporter that was there. And so I want to really quickly find that tweet and then show you guys what he said and why he is so off base, simply because the biggest problem, he doesn't know the full story. They don't know the full story. There is a story there. Okay. Prime is not just doing this for the sake of doing this. Okay. He isn't. And that is just something that people need to realize and understand. Okay. Let's show you this real quick. So here's the tweet. What we have, Vic Lombardi, used to be CBS, now is at Mile High Sports in Denver. Has not been a good supporter of Prime. He tweets a lot about the things that CU does and says that it's not going to work and that he doesn't see it working ever. But here's what he says. So first up, Eric is a longtime producer, reporter at CBS 4. It's completely unaffiliated with whatever CBS outfit did the supposed hit piece. Guess what? It's not a hit piece. By the way, Prime does his weekly show he's paid on CBS 4, so is he done with that too? Does he talk to Romy anymore? She works for CBS 4. My guess is he's not going to be doing that show anymore, and part of it is because of what's going on here and has maybe to do a little bit with it. But let's jump really quickly. Really good clip from On3 Sports, the only person from On3 Sports that matters. Here is this... These reporters just not great over at it, but Philip Dukes, much better. He actually takes things objectively. He understands, and he is critical of Prime, but he's also covering the good with Coach Prime as well. So let's listen to why. And he talked to Coach Prime. What is going on with the CBS story? What is happening? He's not allowed to tell the full details, but he lets us know a little bit. If you haven't seen this, check this out.
And said company, there has been multiple instances where they have worked together very well. 60 Minutes twice in recent years. 2 times now. 1 time in Colorado. Hosted that company at Colorado for his weekly show. Was just on this company in March promoting the book. When we talk about the powers that be, there are very few people that can look eye to eye with the powers that be. Deion Sanders is one. Long-standing relationship with people over there. We talk about foul. We also talk about trust. What I heard in Deion's response was there was an abuse of trust somewhere. And I'm privy to part of that abuse of trust. I really am. But part of my journalistic integrity is to share a little. And on the personal side of it, I'm not going to overstep and say everything that I know. What I will say is this. Deion Sanders ain't upset because somebody ranked him second to last in the Big 12. That's something that he can control because these rankings don't get you into the playoffs. He ain't mad about that. That's his goal. I'll say this. There was a project between the two that one person did their part and was vulnerable enough to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to share this with you. The other faction, said company,
CBS,
without notice or without saying anything, after all of this time and effort was put into something, basically said, nah, this ain't a good look for us right now. Even though.
And so there it is. Okay, this isn't about some article. Prime isn't being petty because they rated him bad. If you guys remember last year, he was in several articles rated as the worst coach in college football, in the Pac-12. Before the season started, he didn't care. That is just fuel for him to get better and to become a better coach and to have a better team. Instead, what we have here is the truth, which is something has happened behind the scene. We're not going to get the details, but he allowed Philip Dukes to understand and know, hey, this is what happened. Share a little bit of it so people actually understand what's going on. And now when you take that into context, and you see what happened at the press conference where Prime said, I'm not answering any questions from CBS. I respect you as a journalist. This isn't about you. This is about not doing anything for your affiliate. I get that they're not completely tied, but CBS still pays the bills. Okay, guys, CBS still pays the bills. So I'm sorry if they did something this horrible and broke his trust and broke some kind of business agreement behind the scenes that Prime worked really hard on and then CBS backed out for no reason, which is exactly what Philip Dukes is saying. Well, then I understand Coach Prime saying, you know what? Sorry, I'm going to not let people walk all over me and do that, because if I let one company do that without any ramifications, I'm going to have other companies do that, and that's not good for my business. That's not good for who I am. That is not good for my brand, okay? Deception, this is the part people don't want to hear because they want to run with the he's sensitive narrative. That's the thing. Coach Prime is not sensitive. He has reasons for everything he does when he does get mad with the media, okay? There's plenty of people out there every day, every week that has some kind of clip or video or anything of Colorado that is saying something negative about Coach Prime. He's not answering all those. You know what he does answer? When people attack his family, when people attack his kids, when people attack his players, when people attack his integrity, when people attack his business. Coach Prime doesn't care about himself in that vein. Coach Prime cares about those around him. And that is why you see him lash out in the media. You see it right here. There is a lot in play and a lot at work. And that is why this is coming apart and coming out like this, okay? There has been plenty of personal attacks happening this offseason, but most of all, personal attacks to his kids. When we go into the Athlon reports with Cordon, he's the one that wrote that Prime forced them to come to Shador's concert, in the spring, and if they didn't go, they were off the team. Again, that's technically attacking Shador and who he is and his brand and background and who he is as a person. Like, that affects Shador's future when teams hear something like that, okay? Obviously, it's a rumor. Obviously, they'll be able to reach out and find out that it's not true, but it's still very, what's the word I'm trying to look for? It's irresponsible to put out articles without actual facts, okay? I'm sorry, but as a journalist, I would not take a scorned cut player who is not playing football anymore, okay? For those of you that don't know, a lot of this information probably came from Gavin Cold, the quarterback from Colorado last year, who, by the way, is now attending a Division II football school. So please tell me how Prime getting rid of some of these players is affecting their roster in a negative way. In fact, it's doing the opposite, but I digress. Let's move on. So we know the CBS stuff. We know Keeler. We know Finebaum. The big one, though, is Steve Cordon, because I have no idea what's going on here, guys. It is a lot worse than I thought, than you probably even know, because I didn't even realize some of this stuff. I went and looked up Cordon on his website, the Athlon, okay? And they have a Colorado section, and technically Cordon is the Colorado beat writer, by the way. So they have a Colorado section that's news, and then Cordon has a section in the Colorado news called Prime's Island, okay? And in Prime's Island, I want you to take a look at something. We're going to pull up Prime's Island here. Again, the nice thing is, by me doing this and you guys watching my stream, you support me. You don't support these places. You can watch it. We'll give them one click from me. Now you don't have to go and check it out for yourself, but we're going to show you exactly what is going on with this place. I had no idea it was this bad. When I pulled up his site, it sickens me what is happening to say that this guy does not have something against Prime, okay? Because the headlines are all clickbait. They're all negative. They all have certain connotations. We'll talk about what he said on Dan Lebatard, but then I want to go into the website and show you why it just continues. Let's jump real quick first to the Dan Lebatard interview. I do have it pulled up just in case you didn't see it, but here we go.
Tell us about the gun allegations.
It's rampant there. There's a video that's circulating that I actually found after the piece where they're asking, I believe it's Bucky is going around asking who's the most strapped on the team. And people are giving their opinions. It's not just one person. It's multiple people. I found a video also last night of Travis Hunter and Dion fishing, and there's a gun in plain sight while he's fishing. So it seems like it's just part of the culture.
What do you think were the most...
Okay. Again, I don't know why Dan Lebatard has this interview up anymore, because at this point it is, and it should be seen as libel. It should be an attack on Coach Prime, and it should be suable. Like, Coach Prime should be able to sue both Dan Lebatard for keeping this up and Steve Cordon. That is what should happen. Now, I don't think Coach Prime will, in fact, do it, because, again, that will look bad in the media space and everything, that he's suing a media outlet for what they said. But he has absolutely every right to do that in this case, okay? If we go through some of these comments, it's so funny because they all point out what strapped up means and how stupid it is that this guy didn't even look it up. I'll be honest, I had no idea before that video. By the way, I watched the video when it first came out and they talked about strapped up. I had no idea what that meant. Okay. I didn't. But instead of randomly reporting something or saying something, I'll either say, one, I don't know what it is, or two, I'll go look it up before I report what it is. Okay. And this guy is supposedly a paid media member, and he's saying this on the Dan Lebatard show and keeping an article out that assumes there's some kind of rampant violence and gang activity in the locker room. I'm sorry. I know where I stand. I know that I have privilege when it comes to a lot of stuff. To me, that just screams that he is being 100% racist when it comes to the team, in just assuming that that's what the locker room is, because of the culture that Colorado now has a part of its team, which honestly I think is great. And honestly it is. But for him to say that, it's the only thing I can come to my conclusion. Again, that's why I want to reach out and ask you guys in the chat, if you guys are watching, Do you agree? Does that look like what this is? Like, is that really what it comes down to? Is it a guy who's jealous of Coach Prime's success? I don't know. Okay. Maybe we find out later on that Cordon is the long lost son of that guy who interviewed Prime in the locker room back in his playing days and got water poured on him. Maybe that's it. Maybe this is a movie plot twist that Cordon's life goal is to embarrass Coach Prime because of what he did to his father way back when. Again, look how that works. See how hearsay works? Do I have any facts whatsoever? No, I don't. But I'm saying it right now because, again, I guess that's okay. I guess that's fine. That's okay to do. So let's move on to Prime's Island. Okay? No joke. This is the name of the section of the athlon that talks about specific things about Prime. And tell me if you don't notice or understand the headlines that you see here when it comes to kind of the activity on Prime's Island for Cordon. So, of course, will Coach Prime hang around for the rebuild? Colorado Buffalo's AD Rick George continues support of Prime. I had no idea he was even wavering on that support. And if you click on the article and read it, I did a little bit ago, it brings up an interview where they talk about it, and I don't really know what he's talking about. Like, of course, Rick George is supporting Coach Prime and wanting to see him succeed. It's like Cordon's article on the violence was supposed to make Rick George question it and fire Coach Prime. Dan Patrick, unsure about Coach Prime going to USC. Former Cowboys head coach Barry Switzer puts his 2 cents on Prime. Again, all of these clickbait titles that make it seem like it's something negative about Coach Prime, and then when you open it up, the people that he talks to usually don't have that many negative things to say, and he just twists it to seem like it is. Okay? Coach Prime called out for rapid ascent to coaching. Colorado's Coach Prime gifted luxurious watch by son Shador. Why is that news? Why is that news? Please, somebody tell me. Why is Coach Prime getting a watch from his son news? For the love of God and all that is holy, this is making me pull my hair out what this guy has done. It gets worse. Colorado's head coach received bonus following 4-8 season. You couldn't just say he got a bonus for last season. No, you had to throw in that he got a bonus for being terrible by saying 4-8. Colorado's head coach, Deion Sanders, responds to Finebaum as only he can. Coach Prime, confident that Shador and Travis could go top 2 in the draft. Coach Prime, embracing the Big 12 style of play. There's one that's kind of, not just kind of in between. Coach Prime continues to receive scrutiny for methods at Colorado. Coach Prime preaches on life lessons. Coach Prime opens up about how he deals with trolls. You also notice something, by the way, that these are all SEO titles. If you don't know what SEO, it's how Google finds things in articles. By starting every article with Coach Prime, he is trying to pick up the SEO that if anybody Googles Coach Prime, his articles will get pushed to the top regularly because of how many articles he has about it and how that's happening. So again, they're doing this for clicks. Coach Prime expects to win at Colorado. You see a little bit of a change here when we go to last year. Okay, it wasn't as bad. There was some point where it happens, but here we go. Coach Prime's Deion's son speaks on intentions at CU after his son's leave. Coach Prime is excited for offensive improvements. Coach Prime defends LeBron and Bronny. Why is that news? Why is Coach Prime's opinion on this matter? Like, I get it. They're kind of in similar situations. Coach Prime and his son, LeBron and his sons. But again, I don't see why that needs to be an entire article. Deion Sanders talks up his team during Big 12 media days. Coach Prime offers olive branch to campus police. Putting police in that title. Coach Prime relays the culture change happening at Colorado. Coach Prime stay or will he go? Coach Prime shows off his luxurious yacht for the 4th of July. Again, he rented it. He went with some family and friends. Why does it matter? Did Deion Sanders know of Ryan Garcia's substance abuse before the spring game? So, of course, Ryan Garcia, after he won, went through like hours of partying and all sorts of crazy stuff online. Not good. He was also at the spring game. So now, he's supporting that guy. It's just, it goes on. This is Prime's Island, by the way, guys. Do not go and search for it. Do not pull it up. Use this video if you want to point it out. I will clip this section and try to clip it and throw it out there. But yeah, this is there. Cordon is doing that. So to think that his little GTA article, his rampant gun and violence locker room article was just some big deal that get him attention. He's been doing this forever. He has been doing this forever. Okay? Like, DeAndre Sanders speaks about nepotism. Former players' lack of privacy in the locker room was concerning. Prime gives his thoughts on NIL. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Finally, Prime visits Children's Hospital. Hey, we got a positive article. Okay. But that's enough on that. Okay. Northside, you bring up a good point here and where we're really at, because guess what? We are only 2 weeks away from the first game. Okay. We are only 2 weeks and 2 days away from that first game against North Dakota State, which I have seen way too many people online say that we are going to get upset, that it's going to be very close. And while I respect North Dakota State, I am in the state of Montana. I have seen North Dakota State play. I understand who they are, but they are going and saying that based off of legacy. Okay. North Dakota State has gone a few years without a national championship in the FCS. They have not been the same team and dominant team that they were in the mid 2010s with Carson Wentz and Trey Lance. They're not that same team in there. And so for people to say that it's going to be close or Colorado's going to lose tells me that they don't know what Colorado has this year. Okay. They really don't. So, yep, we have the players and the coaches. Coaches, absolutely huge upgrades to the coaching staff this year. And quick reminder to people, Coach Prime came to Colorado late. Okay. He had to put together a staff quickly, and he had to put together a roster quickly last year. Okay. He did the best he could. He improved the team. That should have been seen as a big victory. And now this year, with some time, he's able to improve the staff. He's able to improve the players a ton. He's able to get the top recruit, one of the top recruits in the entire recruiting class, in Jordan Seaton. Okay. He's proving it. They're just not looking at the whole picture. Okay. Wow. Lack of privacy in an open locker room. Agreed. Unless he's talking about the thefts of the jewelry. That's not on Coach Prime. That's not how that works. Really dumb that is being looked at that. What up, Big LT? Thanks for dropping in. Appreciate you coming in and checking us out today. Pre-game show had the North Dakota State games in the meeting room yesterday. And if you saw Jordan Seaton's little interview that he did, he said that the offensive line has got something that they saw on videotape that is going to possibly change things. And I think that's a huge deal. A couple of things when it comes to the videotape in North Dakota State. One, North Dakota State, yes, they have a new coaching staff, but they brought in one of their old coaches who already in that first meeting video, which you can go see on North Dakota's site, talks about the fact that they are going to continue running the same program and running the same team. He wants to continue the tradition, continue the culture that is North Dakota State football, and they're going to move forward with that. Okay. So that tells me that if you watch their videos from the last 10, 15 years, you will have an idea of what kind of offense and what kind of team North Dakota State will be and try to be. Hello, Jeanette. Thanks for dropping in. I appreciate you coming and checking us out today. But North Dakota State is going to be most likely the team that they were last year and the year before. They're bringing back their quarterback, all that. A lot of continuation. Great. Watch their tape. You cannot go watch Colorado's tape from last year and get everything you need to know about this team, just like TCU couldn't get video on what Colorado was going to put out. Okay? That is just the case because we have almost an entire new offensive line, a ton of new receivers, all new running backs. We've got a new OC that's bringing in a completely new offense. We've got a new defensive coordinator that's bringing in a completely new defense. We've got an entirely new defensive line. It is TCU all over again. And everybody will say last year from TCU and from Colorado said that the reason why they won is because nobody had tape on Colorado yet to really go after those weaknesses that we found as the season went on with the offensive line, with the defensive line. So whether or not we have weaknesses, we'll find out. We are a stronger team overall, but that's not going to matter because especially in that first 1 to 2 games, we're going to have the advantage. I'm sorry. It's just the case. We're going to have the advantage. Take that to the bank. Those first 3 games, we will start 3-0. Calling it right now. That's going to happen. Okay. North side real quick. We might get Juju, cornerback and center. Yes. And I also think there might be something with Dorian Barney, who was looked at as a potential Colorado recruit, has a relationship with Julian Lewis. And if Julian Lewis flips, who knows? We might see a couple other flips. We'll see. Again, we're still waiting. A little bit of tidbit information with that as it stands, of course, on 3 just discussed that Julian Lewis saga as far as USC goes, they're going to try and shut him down this week. And if he does not commit fully and all the way to USC this week, they will be moving on. Okay. And that On 3 article also said that Indiana's in the lead for Julian Lewis. I don't believe that because it was also an Indiana recruiter that was talking about it in there who did not have any connections to Colorado. And I just think that's the way it's going to go. Yep. Pastor knows the CB. Pastor knows Dorian Barney, the other CB that committed at the time of Julian Lewis being at one of their elite camps to USC. So there's going to be some big movements here. Okay. Dominoes will fall if Julian Lewis flips from USC. There will be dominoes that follow him. Be on the lookout for that. Be on the lookout for what could be coming. It could be some very exciting times. This weekend is Julian Lewis's first high school football game. It is on ESPN2 Friday night. So if you are wanting to see Julian Lewis play, if you're wanting to watch just in case something happens, I would recommend watching it Friday night. I just feel like that's a good opportunity for him to make that flip. Because if USC is pushing him and going to move on, if they move on, it's pretty obvious where he's going to end up. Okay. I don't think it's going to be Indiana. I get that he has the relationship with the coach, but he does not have the roster there that he knows. He does not have the relationships there. Why not go to a team like Colorado where he also knows the coach? He knows the coaches, by the way. There are plural there because he also has a little bit of a relationship with Shador's quarterback coach. And of course, Julian Lewis tweeted out last week before he deleted it. One of his main mentors is Cordell Stewart from Colorado. So right there, there's a lot of stuff just piling up. It's pretty obvious what's going to happen if you look at the tea leaves, but we're going to have to wait and see like everybody else. So we will find that out hopefully this week, maybe next week. Maybe we won't find out until signing day. If so, make sure you guys are tuned in to Buffs News Weekly. We got some great things coming up this season. I've got something really cool in the works for a weekly show that we're going to be doing during the season to preview each and every game. So be on the lookout for that. Other than that, thank you guys so much for tuning in today, going through this kind of deep dive into what's going on. Hopefully you learned a little bit new. Hopefully you guys can better understand where Coach Prime is coming from if you're watching this later on. Hopefully you understand now the reaction to that, maybe have a different light of Coach Prime. But my guess is if you already are negative on him, you're going to continue to be negative on him, and that's fine. That's your opinion. You're allowed to have that. But I wanted to throw that out there, have this video, go over those things, and really dive in deep to why I believe Coach Prime is 100% in the right. Coach Prime is a respectful man of God that really tries to exemplify that on a daily basis. And I think that even though he has those moments where he pushes back, I'll call it pushback. It's not lash out. It's not anything. He pushes back against the media who are doing these things. And he is in every right to be doing that. Okay. So Appreciate it. PK7, thank you for giving the additional info. The CBS issue 10-2, 10-2, big LT 10-2. We got those predictions in before we get to NDSU. So I will see you guys either on Saturday. Make sure you tune into our next news video where we'll cover all of this stuff from the week in a nice, easy to watch video that you can get all of your Colorado information on. And then, of course, be on the lookout for more live streams coming up later on this month. And guys, we're almost there. It's almost football time. So for Buffs News Weekly Live, I'm Russ Dornish. Go Buffs.